Hello, my name's Charlotte Windebank and I am passionate about empowering enterprise skills for underrepresented founders. And because of that, 11 years ago, I started my business first. I'm here today to talk to Anna all about the who, what, where, when, why of networking. So if you're interested in lifting up the hood to find out more about why we should go out and build our professional contacts, then have a listen.
Clearly, you were the person that came to mind when we mentioned all of the scary things. So when we're talking about putting yourself out there, one of the things we keep talking about is removing those barriers. How do you remove? What barriers do you need to remove? Whether that's tech or personal, whatever it is, and networking is one of the ways that you have to put yourself out there in order to grow, create those contacts. And how do you remove those barriers? What can we do? Do you have any, the awkwardness, the horrificness of going to a networking meeting that we all feel? Do you sort of just prepare yourself better, or is it a case if you've just got to go and do it and then get over that fear? It's horrible.
Yeah.
It's not nice, is it? So we can't fluff it up and just go, no, it's going to be really nice and because sometimes it is and sometimes it just isn't. And you've just got to be prepared for the fact that it just isn't.
Mm.
What can you do to make it less ick?
Yeah, well, I think the first thing always to look at is your why. So why the hell am I putting myself through this in the first place? And if you're content and if you're happy with what you're doing in life and you have no desire to change anything about your life, your work, your relationships, then networking isn't for you, I'll be honest with you. If you are unhappy, you're stuck, you're at a crossroads, you want to grow, as you've said, you want to see what's out there, you're curious, and I love the word curious.
Yes.
It's got me so far in life. Then networking and building your contacts is your first step.
Yeah.
And it's been proven scientifically by psychological behavior research. Jenny Smith's done a blooming PhD in it, or is doing it now. So she's, it's a fact that if you want to progress in life, networking is the one.
That's so interesting. I didn't realise that's really interesting that there's actual studies and someone doing a PhD on it.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, and I think, if you have that motivation in you already to say, right, I want to get a new job, I want to start a business, I want to do this, and I know that networking is how I'm going to do it. That helps get us through that door and into that uncomfortable space.
Yes.
And also choosing an environment that suits your personality. So for me, the idea of going to a meetup where it's all casual, there's lots of different conversations going on, you might be stood there with a bacon buddy and everyone's chill, that's my idea of hell. I can't stand those kind of networking environments.
So what would be yours?
So mine is, I love a conference.
Really? That's God.
Yeah, so lots of different things going on. You've got an exhibition space, you've got some seminars, you've got keynotes, but everyone's united under one key theme.
See, now I think this is really important because not everyone, a lot of people, when they hear the word networking, they are thinking of a corporate, a one room, very corporate, the table off to the side with the tea and coffee on it and a few biscuits, and then suited and booted people in their little cliques, and then you've got to go in and actually go into one of these cliques somehow, awkward as hell, but actually it's not. So what you're saying is networking isn't just that. Networking is actually just going to a conference.
Yeah,
because
and picking something that suits your personality.
Yeah.
But you'll only find that out if you go to lots of different things, but it's so you're not setting yourself up to fail before you even walk out the door. So you're picking something that you're interested in, or you're going to one of those quite, intensive networking experiences, but you've already identified who it is that you want to speak to. So you might not necessarily get the name of the person, but you can ask the event organizer, can you tell me what companies are going to be there? And then again, you've got that motivation to be like, right, they're there, I need to go and find that person. So you've got a purpose for being there.
That makes so much sense than just arriving and just not knowing. You feel much more prepared.
Yeah.
And then you've got a reason to actually speak to that person. Just say, I knew you were going to be here, I'd love to speak to you about whatever.
Yeah.
I wish I'd known that when I first started networking.
And if you see someone on LinkedIn that's like, oh, I'm off to this event, I'm going to, and then you can be like, oh, so am I. I'd love to meet you there.
Yeah.
So then you've already got an ally before you walk into the room full of people. Because I'm here to tell you today that I'm getting more passionate.
Did you hear how forward you got there?
To tell you today.
Motivation.
Walking into a room full of people that you don't know, that feeling of is never going to change. It's never going to change, Anna. And the only way you can prevent that feeling is if you walk into that room and you know someone in that room.
God, yeah, definitely.
And you only know that person because you've been out networking and met them. So it's a chicken and egg, self-fulfilling prophecy, all of that kind of stuff. And it will only get better if you continue to go out and do it.
Oh, I love that. Can I tell you about my first networking? This is genuine, my very, very first one.
Yeah.
It was a woman who used to live in Rothbury, and she said, "Oh, come with me. I'm going to this networking in Newcastle." And we went together, and it was awful and genuine. It was one of those, tea and coffee table on in the corner, and little groups of cliquey people, suited and booted. And I thought, I'm going to have to just walk into one of these conversations really awkwardly. Wasn't prepared though. I didn't think, actually, what will I start saying? I didn't think about that at all. So I felt really unprepared. And I went and joined one of the conversations, just said sort of, hi. And all that happened was they talked at me for the entire event, at me, didn't ask me a single question about me, but I was asking them questions. Oh, right, okay, so how did you get into that, blah, 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 tell me more about this. They gave me all of their business cards, wanted me to buy from them, but didn't give a shit about me.
Yeah.
And how you can expect somebody to want to actually come and buy your product, hire you, if you've shown absolutely zero interest in them whatsoever.
Yeah.
I mean, they don't even know, by getting to know me, actually, and by showing a little bit of interest in why I would even want to buy their product or service, I would have, you would have had me on board. And I just thought, I never want to do this again.
Yeah, and I think we've all got those experiences, and it's always, I get a lot of people saying like, what did I do wrong? Like, why, what was my role in that? And I'm always like, whoa, first off, you've done absolutely nothing wrong. And you've just shown how aware you are by even considering that you had a part to play in that in the first place.
Definitely.
And I always think like, right, so there's something wrong with the networking event in itself if it's attracting those type of salespeople, because the culture of the event isn't right.
Mm-hmm.
And secondly, if they're so unaware of that, I would call it, rudeness.
Yeah.
Having that almost monologue approach to networking, they'll never get anything out of a networking event.
You would think not.
Yeah.
But you say that's just brought back memories there, because I did walk away thinking, God, I'm so, I remember thinking, God, I'm really, really boring and uninterested, nobody wants to know anything about me.
Oh.
And honestly, do you get the violins out? I did actually feel like that though, genuine. And then the next few that I went to, because they were like that as well, I felt the same way. I was thinking, oh God, I just want to go and just hide under a rock somewhere, because I must be just the most boring person in the room, because everyone wanted to tell me all about them, And obviously I'm showing interest and asking questions. And then because they didn't ask me anything back, I just thought, oh, take me away.
Yeah. Yeah. And
it's mortifying.
Yeah, and we are so quick, like I said, to sort of put blame on ourselves when really we just need to find a really good networking event and an opportunity. So, for example, there's one in the Northeast, Silicon Mingle, and
I've never heard that.
It's for tech businesses predominantly, but it's also the digital and tech ecosystem. It's been set up by some amazing founders of tech businesses, and it doesn't just attract, you know, the cool techie companies, but you've got your law firms there, you know, you've got general enablers that are part of the ecosystem, and it's just such good vibes.
Oh, so how do they sort of prep people to go in and have that kind of vibe and act in a certain way rather than be salesy?
Yeah, you're absolutely right, and it's about that tone of the invite.
Yeah.
And it's about laying out the purpose of the reason why they do it in the first place. So it's to unite and connect and celebrate, you know, tech businesses in the Northeast. So there's no kind of vested interest. There's no like, oh, it's a membership organization, so you have to pay into it. It's literally like, show up if you care. And that at the beginning then sets the tone. So if someone did come in and was all salesy and, you know, here's my business card before you even had a chance to open your mouth, then they're going to stick out like a sore thumb. And so that just shows the responsibility that the event organizers need to have in order to make people feel comfortable to be able to be authentic and share more about themselves and be respectful as well.
Because networking, I think as well, people think that you're going to network to get work, but it's not. The whole point is to make connections. Through that, making connections and broadening your horizons, and yes, you're going to get work that way, but the point isn't just to go there and start sell and hope that somebody there on that day is going to buy your product or service, is it?
Yeah.
So it's not about just going to the networking places, it's about just getting yourself out there full stop, isn't it? How else can people get themselves, without going to an actual specific networking, what else can we think of? Obviously going to conferences. How else can we just get out there and meet people?
So launches, product launches are really good. If there's internal networking opportunities, if you're working in a big corporate organisation. One that I absolutely love that people don't take advantage of enough is joining as a trustee for a charity and the networking that comes with that.
Yeah.
And it's not a big room full of people, but you're then on a board with, you know, some senior leaders.
Get social media, networking on LinkedIn, for example. I remember I've actually been for cups of coffee with people just through the fact that we've spoke a few times on whether it be LinkedIn or Facebook or Instagram, and you know how you kind of feel like you know people a little bit because you've spoke quite a bit. I think it's all right to say, are you going to be around, or are you going to such and such event, or it'd be great to actually have an in-person coffee with you now, and actually that used to happen more a while ago. I don't know if it still does, but definitely I would say about 5-10 years ago, I'd meet up with quite a few people in that way, and I think that's absolutely fine too. And I know that's probably even more scary than going to a network.
I think it would be the easy way out.
Do you reckon?
I think LinkedIn and social media is a great secondary engagement tool. So if you met someone out networking, or you've seen a speaker that you really admire out at an event, and then you add them on LinkedIn afterwards and say, oh, you know, great to meet you, or I saw you at this event, or something like that, to then keep the conversation going. But reaching out to people, unless you're very specific with the ask, in my experience, they tend to be not as valuable connections. So if I look at my LinkedIn messaging, I got lots of people asking for coffees with me, which is great, and I'm extremely flattered, but 9 times out of 10 I have to say like no, or why? because
I guess it can be a bit weird. Yeah, I've definitely
difficult to prioritize time, and if I said yes to everyone, I wouldn't have a business anymore. So I think
yeah, definitely. Oh,
sorry, I shouldn't give him attention. Should I? But whatever works for you. I think the messaging about building your professional network and contacts is finding out what works for you. So yeah, that's not worked for me in the past, but it's worked for you, and you've had some great quality conversations out of it. So
but
you've just got to do it, haven't you? Whatever way.
It's been more a case of, and they've been female as well. And it's been more a case of, I think we've spoken for so long, and we know that we're going to be in the same area, and it's rather than expecting rather than actually expecting someone to physically go somewhere where they're not going to be, spend time with you. But one of the really important benefits of networking, though, is getting you as in your personality to coming across, isn't it? Because you can't do that on social media.
Yeah. And you know this more than anyone, personal branding side of things, and that starts with what comes out your mouth.
Yeah.
And really focusing on that intention and messaging that you want to get out to the people that you're speaking with, and making it engaging and relevant for them to then engage in a conversation with you.
Exactly.
That's a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
And you'll only figure out what that is and how to say it by just practicing, keeping going and trying different things. One of the things that I used to really balls up on is I'm so passionate. And I remember when I first started going networking, and I'd be like, how am I doing this? Blah, 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 blah. And people would be like, great. And I was a lot for a lot of people, and unless they were a big shouty extrovert as well, I think I came across as probably quite intimidating to people. And I kind of reflected on that and thought, right, Shah, dial it back, go, but still be you, but don't give everything all at once on a plate. You don't have to do that. Be a little bit mysterious, say something, but then direct the conversation to that person. And then, and then you've got an actual equal way of learning about each other. Yeah.
That's funny, because that's what Alfie was just talking about. Honestly, he just said a really similar thing, that he said he was really extrovert. And he was like, constant, a bit like, I can be like that a lot. And he said that he dialed it back, and he found that people started talking more, rather than the introverts didn't speak very much, because he was very overpowering and actually when he toned that down a bit, they were able to come out of their shell a little bit and it was more of a two-way rather than a blah, 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 blah.
Yeah. And just people being able to get what you do. It's, the company that I run, it's quite complex in the sense of it's a service-based business. There's not many people that do it. It's not like selling shoes or, running an ad agency. It's quite difficult for people to get their heads around. My parents and friends still don't know what I do. They're always just as long as you're happy. And so you have to really master that and change it depending on where you're at. It's a dynamic introduction.
Yeah.
But that starting with what you're passionate about is such an easy win that you can then, and it does sound cringe and it does make you feel at the beginning, and especially if you're not really sure what you're passionate about.
Yeah.
But just starting with something can then really help the other person that you're talking to. So if you do it if I do that, then it'll make their lives easier, because then they can understand what I'm all about quite quickly.
Yes. And that's, the passion thing. I think the reason that people struggle with it is because they're making up a passion. They're actually or it's somebody else's passion, or it's a passion that they think that they should have. Whereas if it's something that you genuinely give a shit about, and you can learn what that thing is, and it doesn't have to be the thing that you've given a shit about all your life. It can be, actually, I think I can really start giving a shit about this.
Yeah.
And it's that, and once you have that, you're not bullshitting, you're being completely and utterly genuine and real, and you're just talking about something that you genuinely are excited and care about.
The big talk, not this awful small talk bubble that you get when that's the thing about grew up in a village, and you have that, how's it going, Charlotte? And I used to live on a boat, and everyone always be like,
right, we're coming back to that one.
He's still living on the boat. Like I was such a novelty in the village. Like, and I just hate. Well, everyone. I don't think there's anyone that ever says, "Oh, I love small talk."
Yeah.
So if you start with what you're passionate about when you first meet someone, it really cuts through all of that and gets straight into the core of who you are.
Yeah. But can we talk about the boat? Why were you living on a boat?
So my pal was in the Merchant Navy. He lived on the boat in St. Peter's Marina in Newcastle, and then he was away and he had a cat, and he was like, "Oh, Shar, do you want to live on my boat and look after the cat?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'll give it a go." And it was like a 10-minute walk from where I was working at the time.
A cat living on a boat?
Yeah, it was called. This is even
weirdest.
funnier. It was called Chem Meow.
What?
Instead of Chem Meow, but yeah. So and then another boat came up for sale, and I just went for it. It was like $2,000, so I was like, yeah, go in. And then 4 years later, became a landlubber again. But I set up the business in the boat.
Sorry, it's so
I know. I look back and I'm like, how did I do that? It was literally like one up from a tent. It was.
So you were like, I'll go and live on the boat and look after your cat. And then it was like, oh, a boat's come up for sale. I'll just buy one and live on it.
Yeah, if the boat had been nicer.
Was it like a dinghy?
Yeah, I mean, it was $2,000 for a reason.
So it didn't move or anything?
No. I think it's still down there, actually. I think it's still afloat.
How did you get the cat on and off the boat?
Oh, it was so well trained. And he used to just dive in through the tarpaulin. It was so cute.
Like
from the pontoon, and would just jump through.
It dived on. Really?
Yeah.
That's so weird.
Yeah.
So would he just let I was just digress. Would he just open the tarpaulin and the cat would just dive onto the jetty?
Yeah.
Take itself off for a walk?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, that's so
it was an amazing time of life, and being young and living that lifestyle was amazing.
Yeah.
And part of the reason why I was able to set up the business was because I had such my
no overheads.
Yeah, exactly. And I, at one point I was unemployed, but because my cost of living was like £100 a month.
Wow.
I was like, well, I can do this. I can still start the business. So
that was bootstrapping at its finest.
Yeah, too right.
Is that what you tell some of your students?
Well, absolutely.
Go and live on a boat.
Well, yeah, and or go live back with parents, or if you can. I didn't want to live back with my parents, and I couldn't afford to have my own place. So a boat seemed like a great option, and it's got so much more popular now. I'm talking 15 years ago, but
did you have
now,
Wi-Fi on the boat?
A dongle. Yeah, a little dongle. That was before you could connect your phone as a Wi-Fi option. But there's loads of boat dwellers now in St. Peter's Marina.
Oh, that's cool.
And it's such an amazing opportunity for young people.
Yeah. Let's talk about bootstrapping a bit though, because that's interesting. Because if you're at the point where you're still wanting to maybe take the leap of going network, and you might also be at that stage where you want to maybe either you're just starting out, or you maybe want to try something, you maybe want to do start a course, you maybe want to, whatever it is, bootstrapping is a really, really cool way to start. Well, this, for example, podcasting, for example, you might want to start that. You don't need a lot of money to start it. You don't need any. You've got your phone, you've got free social media. You can get yourself onto all of the networks. I think that's a cool subject to talk about. What can you think of anybody that or have you got any experiences, or can you think of anybody else that you know who's done something and fully on the bones of their arse, or just really with no finances behind them, but they still managed to grow something?
Yeah, so when I started first with my business partner, I was actually job seeker. So I went through the job centre, and then I went through them to I sort of said, I want to start my own business, and then they put me on a different benefit to then explore that and give me the time and space.
I didn't even know you could do that.
Yeah, so it's now been it's all as part of Universal Credit as one now.
Yeah.
But before that, it used to be called what's it called? New Enterprise Allowance.
Yeah.
So with that, you had a deadline.
So they did actually encourage you to start businesses?
Yeah. But the frustrating thing was that I had to find out from a friend about this opportunity.
Yeah.
Not through the job centre, which was annoying, because had I not had that pal to tell me that it existed, then I would have probably never got the opportunity to go through it. And it was
Which is another good reason to network, because you find out all the stuff that you would never have found out before.
Exactly, real-time information.
Yeah.
And I just think, it's quite different if you've got a product-based business to bootstrapping. You really have to go through the systems that are within venture capitalism and all of that, huge finance raising piece. But if you've got a service-based business and you are the service in the beginning, then it is easier to bootstrap. So I was always proud that from day one of the business, I managed to get an income in. But in that
from day one,
yeah, and
wow,
but that first year it was only 12 grand,
Uh-huh.
and at the time, my other half, he was a student, so he wasn't bringing any money in, so we were skinned.
Mm-hmm.
But I managed to get some working tax credits, which really helped us both, and yeah, so you find a way and you struggle. I mean, I remember there was one point where we were literally crying, holding each other, because we were so skinned and it had been going on for so long. And we were fortunate enough, if we were ever in trouble, we did have our parents.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like, that was it. But at that point we were like, we're so fed up of being skinned. And ever since that moment, that's been one of the core drivers as to get that income and get that money in, because I never want to go back to that point.
Yeah.
But also, recognizing I didn't have to. If I'd known that there was a startup loan,
God,
I wouldn't have gone through that.
Yeah.
And that frustrates me as well, and why networking is so important. Because I was networking. I was going to every workshop. I was everything, opening of an envelope. I was there. And yet I still didn't get key information that there was a startup loan available that was government backed, and that would have really, really helped in those first years.
Absolutely.
So again, that's why I've got such a core driver to get this crucial information out, particularly to underrepresented founders, that there are means and systematic things that can be done to help you grow and start a business. And just because you don't know someone that is running it, or it hasn't been recommended to you because you don't look like a business person in their eyes, that's why we exist, and that's why we need to be signposting everyone in the Northeast to say, if you do want to start a business, those kind of vehicles to support you are there, and they're there for everyone.
Yeah. But that's just brilliant. I think your story is just really, really important to talk about, because it's just proof that what you're doing now is just amazing. Because I want to talk about that as well. But it's how you got there. It's like you didn't have all of the skills for a start. You've learnt them as you've gone. You completely bootstrapped the best bootstrapping example I've ever heard. I lived on a boat. Did you have electricity?
Just.
So you started. So talk me through it. So you started like that. You then found out you could have had this loan, which you never even knew about. And then how did it grow from there?
Yeah. So when I started up, it was also I had fantastic mentorship from my business partner as well at the time, who's exited first now. But having those people around you is essential, and everybody needs that door opener. So someone that is, 10 to 20 years your senior, who has developed all of that social capital to then give it back to the next generation of founders.
Yeah.
So you've got to find that person as well.
How do you find these people though?
You know what I'm going to say, right?
Is it network?
Yes. But, networking in the most unusual of places, well, not that unusual, but so how I met my business partner was through working in a cafe on a business site. So in Holt's Yard, she would come in, she had an office there, and we developed a relationship in terms of me helping her out with her events, and then thought, let's see if we can do something together. But that came through networking when I was working in the cafe. So, and even like everyone looks back at if you've worked in hospitality or retail or call centres and that, and it's like, oh yeah, no, I used to do, like, that is one of my proudest achievements, because working in hospitality was the hardest job I've ever had, because it's so fraught with, people being horrible to you, like the stress of no one being in the cafe, and then suddenly 20 people come in, and then people not showing up for work, like being paid terrible, like all of that stuff. And then how like all those skills are so transferable when you start your own business as well.
Yeah.
And we don't realise that. So like call centres, that level of patience and resilience that you build up, being in retail and all the problem solving that you have to do, and the hierarchical nature of these organisations, like it's so useful and valuable to then have those experiences to then start your own business as well.
Yeah, that's interesting though, because you can when you look back on all the experiences you've had, or whether it's job experience or even just life experiences, you can always relate them back to how that helps you out when you get into business, and whether that be your ability to be able to talk to people, conversational, depending on what your background is, or problem solve. And problem solving in business, that's a really interesting subject as well, and that's one of the things, just every single day I think there's something that you've got to problem solve with. And whether that's down to just as simple as how you explain what you do to somebody. And it's weird until you get into business, until you run a business, telling somebody that it's actually hard to tell you what I do sounds really weird, because you do it every day. But it's like you say, like, people in your family still don't know what you do. I don't think my mother probably doesn't know what I do. I genuinely don't think she does.
And it's not that they don't care, but they're just like, but what they care about is your happiness, right?
Yeah.
So as long as they can see you being okay and you're fit and you're healthy and you're happy, everything else to them doesn't matter, does it really?
Definitely. But when you were saying as well before about learning that the way is by doing it. The only way to get better at it by doing it. The only way to find out what your thing is by going out and trying them all out. And then the only way to get better at talking about what you do is by going out and talking about it. And we've talked about that loads, haven't we? We're talking about what I was saying about teaching what you do gets you better at it, but also better at being able to explain it really, really simply, because you have to teach, you have to explain it to all different types of people who are at different stages, who different understandings, and if you can explain it to people who have all these different understandings about, understandings of business, language, where they are in life, etc. If you have to explain it in lots of different ways to lots of different people, that act in itself is going to make you much better at networking and being able to be in that scenario where you can just tell in just a couple of sentences, this is what I do, this is why it's important, this is why it matters.
Purpose.
Yeah.
I think as well, like, a lot of people will ask me, like, oh, what's the best ways to go out networking? And that is when you can fall into that trap, because what works for me won't work for someone else with a different personality. Like, I'm a naturally smiley person.
Yeah.
So when I'm talking to people, it's very easy for me to crack out a smile. Whereas for someone else, that might be the hardest thing to do, because it's just not their natural face. Do
you mean to smile?
So,
It'd be hard for them to smile.
Yeah. So if you don't have that, because I do it unconsciously.
Yeah.
Whereas if you're trying to force yourself to smile when you're having a conversation, that can come across to someone else as quite unnatural and maybe even a bit creepy or something.
Yes,
because if it doesn't suit or fit who you are, so what works for me might not work for them. If I'm, because I don't like, I know it's probably doesn't seem right now because I'm doing a lot of talking, but to go on and talk about myself a lot, and a lot of people have this, they'll feel like quite uncomfortable to do that. So I'm quite a deflector. So if anyone gets into stuff too quickly, it's like, right, okay, over to you now. But that is a good engagement tool, because then it gives the other person an opportunity to speak about themselves.
Yeah. Whereas in this type of scenario, I actually want you to be doing that. But I know what you mean. But that there are especially in networking, which we were talking about before, if all you do is talk about yourself, which is what people do,
they do.
That's just a bad practice. Yeah. Just not good.
Yeah. And I always say, like, try and be a different person at the networking event. So if the last one you were at, you were like, wow, doing all the talking. The next conversation you have, do all the listening and see which one has the better outcome for you. Like, as you do when you're starting a business, you test lots of different things. So why not test different conversation styles and different ways of being at networking events? Yeah,
exactly. And us doing this, so when we first started this, and Neil will tell you, and I met Neil, and we didn't know what it was going to be. We didn't even have like an agenda. Genuinely did not know how to do it, or what style or what format or anything. And I think that was kind of the point, was just, let's just put the camera on. And now through doing this, I realised that I'm falling naturally into it, non-scripted. I don't want like a list of questions, just really natural, conversational, and laughing, because laughing's just, there hasn't been one yet, has there, where I haven't laughed? No. I couldn't get through a day without laughing. That would just be sad. But I know that some people are like that. I know that, but also as well, sorry to interrupt, but you then know that a networking event that's really going to suit you is one of the more light-hearted ones. Yes.
Maybe it has a bit of that in the tone of invite, and it's like, it's more informal, and that then suits who you are, your values. Like, you've got to get that value connect with the networking event that you're going to.
Yeah.
It sounds a bit too deep and a bit too like, oh God, really? But it really then helps you connect with the people that are there, because you've already got that shared values system in place.
Yes, definitely. And I think, but being yourself, and like I say, it's been hard, it's been a hard journey for me, just these couple of weeks, months. What is it now?
This is number 6.
Is it?
Mm.
Wow.
Time flies,
I forgot forgot what I was talking about now. What was I saying?
Being yourself.
Being yourself. Being yourself.
Like you saying you found it hard over the last months.
Having the camera there, being yourself, just really, really, really difficult. And for some reason being scared just to be yourself, which just we are for some reason, but not being yourself is always going to come across as kind of unrelatable, kind of not much personality there. But I think it's really difficult just to have your actual personality when there's a camera and a microphone, and you know that it's going to be put out there and it's just going to be laid bare. But I think I'm getting more and more comfortable with that, and I know now that if I scripted anything, if there was, you know, if it was premeditated, that wouldn't be me. Yeah, I would struggle, and especially with my memory, you know what? It's terrible. It's terrible. And I would be consciously thinking, oh right, I need to be thinking about that. And then I would lose the natural flow of a conversation. Yeah, which I think is just so valuable and so important, because it's coming from, if it's just a conversation and it's coming from the heart and it's real, and that's what I want this to be about. I want it to be real, no fluff, no bollocks, let's just lay it out there.
And I love that as well, because that's exactly what networking should be. Yeah, as well, that organic, natural connection. Yeah, and all too often we're forcing ourselves to be or say something that we're not, and then it just creates these false experiences. But the more authentic and open you can be from the first moment of meeting someone, the more you can literally see them go, okay, right, I'm in a safe space. Yeah. And that to me is so important, and it's something I really strive for. Like, I've been on a lot of formal conversations and interviews and panels, and I'll mess up, and some, not deliberately, but I'll say oopsie, sorry, and it just cuts through it, and everyone's then like, oh, all right, okay, we can be a bit more like real now.
Yeah, exactly. Why? And it's weird that people cut out the bits where you fuck up or you say something stupid, or it's just, I mean, I would be knackered in life, full stop, if you had to be if you had to flow as well as that, because I just can't. Just full on tangent and always laughing and always taking the piss.
Well, you'll see it as well when you're working with the students. And yeah, you will create that space, and you'll be like, oopsie, yeah, and I've seen you work, and you can see them all just go, okay, she's real, she's a real person.
Yeah, yes. Well, exactly. And people, and I think, but again, it's going back to, I know that it's difficult to just be you, which is the stupidest thing on the planet. The words coming out my mouth sound ridiculous. How is it so hard to just be you? Mental. It should be the other way around. But yet everybody, you know, so many of us go out there trying to be something else because we feel like either that's what you should be, that's what I'm perceived, or want people to perceive me as being a bit more professional than I actually am, or a bit more this, or a bit more serious, and actually when you stop doing that and just let it all go,
all of it.
Yeah, pretty much.
Well, you know, and that is exactly what you should be. And we always meet those people in life, and you're like, oh God, I wish I was more like them, because they're coming across as truly unapologetically themselves, and they do not give a flying F what other people think of them.
Yeah.
And they're my inspiration.
Yeah.
And those people, and I'm good at not comparing myself, because I think if you get down that route, it's a slippery slope and you'll never be happy with what you've got. But you can have aspirations to be more not giving an F. And there's lots of books and podcasts out there now about that whole not giving an F, isn't there?
Yeah.
And you've just got to like learn from those people and go like, how did you get to that point? And 9 times out of 10, it's like, well, there was a tipping point where I realised, actually, I don't owe anyone anything, and this is me, and you can like it or you can not, and I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
And I'm getting to that point. I think unfortunately it is parallel to just getting older, you know, and more wiser and more comfortable in your own
That's definitely
skin.
part, yeah, 100%.
And I've started to challenge as well, like, and I never used to. So I used to sort of go, oh, I'm not okay with that, but what happens if I challenge?
Yeah.
And I did it for the first time ever. I was at a networking event.
Tell me, what did you do?
And I publicly challenged this thing, and my heart was just like, and I went bright red, and I was just like, I love that. And then, but then afterwards, I had all these women come up to me and go like, that was amazing. Like, I'm so glad you did that. I was thinking that, but I just didn't do it.
Yeah.
And then I got an apology from them as well. It was a big organisation, like a big government organisation that were doing this thing, and I was like, that's not fair. That's not accessible. Like, you're marginalising underrepresented founders by doing what you're doing right now. And I said that out loud in this, you know, in front of 100 people.
So there you go. You've just proved it to me by being you and by staying true to your values and just not going with the masses.
Yeah.
And just standing strong for what you believe in.
And
then look what happens straight away.
Yeah, and then in the email I got, they were like, and because of that, we've now changed it so that underrepresented founders can access this new service that we've got.
So you need to be more that.
And I was like, oh God, but that's that feeling. I was just like, my head was like, what are you doing? What are you doing? Why are you speaking? Charlotte? Why is that? I'm at that point now. No, enough is enough. Like, I'm not, and it wasn't directed at a person.
Yeah.
You know, this is a systematic barrier that I was going against. And it just, when you get that kind of response, and there were people in that room that were looking at me to be like, what? She's lost it.
But we don't care about those people.
But I'm like, yeah, I don't care. And if you want to translate my passion and authenticity for someone that has lost it about diversity, then that's you. That's on you. Mm. But I know that if I don't speak and if I don't share other perspectives that they're not used to hearing, who else will? And if not now, when? And if not you, who? Is a mantra that I am always using as well. Yeah. Because, but unfortunately it's taken me 40 years to realise that.
That's what I've been saying though. It took me how much? Yeah.
But it is
more than 40 years.
It's age of maturity though, isn't
Definitely.
it? That's exactly what it is.
You definitely give less fucks when you're older.
But why? Why can't we just be like that when we're teenagers? Do you know what I mean? And there are some that are like that at teenagers.
So self-critical as a teenager.
Yeah.
Hated everything about myself.
But it's not us that's the problem. It's just the systems and the society that we live in. Yeah. Like, I was chatting to a bloke yesterday, and it was a really authentic panel speaking, and they were really talking about their experiences of raising investment as female founders. And this guy was just like, God, I wish more blokes could be that open. Like, on that panel, like, there was no holes barred. Everyone was so real. And he's like, I wish there had been more blokes on that panel to be able to do and be like that. And I said to him, well, you know, as young men, you're told that you can't cry and show emotion. And as young women, we're all told we're fat.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's basically a way of just controlling us into these, like, you know, into these narratives.
Yeah.
And then when you get older, you're like, oh, actually, no, I can break through that.
And there still is that there's loads of sexism still in both ways. But there's Jason's going to be like, oh, for fuck's sake, she goes again. But you know what I really hate? And I heard it again just a couple of days ago. Someone was saying, oh, isn't he such a good dad? And I'm thinking, do you know what? I bet she's never once been called a good mum. Never. Because you're just expected to be a good mum. People don't walk around going, oh, what a good mum. Oh, she's such a good mum. Oh, look at her taking her child to the beach or swim. What a good mum. But yet, if a dad takes their child swimming, it's automatically, oh, what a love. Oh, isn't that lovely? Taking his child to the swimming. Oh, yes, she's just done it 6 other times that week, but it's really lovely when you do it. Why is that? What's that all about?
Yeah. There's an amazing Facebook group called The Man That Has It All. And it's about flipping the patriarchy narrative. Yeah. And it's exactly that.
Oh, I'm going to have to look at it.
And they put up like posts, and it's basically what's said about women, but they've turned it around for it to be about blokes.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And it's so funny. And like, it's totally satirical, right? But some people just are like, blah, blah, blah. So you look at all the comments and stuff.
I would find that hilarious. I really want to see that.
Yeah,
that's
Man
brilliant.
That Has It All. It's amazing. It's amazing, and it's just it's poking fun at a serious topic. But what it's doing is it's trying to just get you thinking.
Flipping it like that really highlights it, doesn't it? That's brilliant. That is brilliant. What have you been? What have you done, or what did you start? Is there a memory that you can have that you think of where you felt like, oh God, I was just really bad there. That was embarrassing. Or, something that you're happy to share because you know you're good at it now, but you were really rubbish at one point.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's lots of experiences that you can look back on, and you can, when you're trying to get to sleep and your brain is like, oh, we're going to remember this now. And then you're like, oh, thanks for that. But, there's lots, and I think one of them is always, I think we all do this, is, that reaction to something before you've really given it any thought. And thinking back like, oh, I wish I had just been a bit slower to respond. But I'm getting really good at that now.
Yeah.
Like, I think as well, like running a business for 11 years, and we've had some pretty nasty shocks this year. I'm not going to lie. It's been the hardest year of running a business of my life. Even running the business in the pandemic has not been anywhere near as hard as this year. Wow. And the senior team that I've surrounded myself with now are so true, passionate, loyal, caring individuals.
That's phenomenal to have found those people.
Yeah, and we honestly, I would do anything in the world for those people. They are just incredibly so committed to why First exists. Mm-hmm. And they've seen me deal with things this year, and they're like, Charlotte, how are you so calm? Like, how are you, like, how are you able to deal with this? And I'm like, because after 11 years, it used to really affect me, and I would always be like, why is this person doing this? I don't understand. And then I was like, I'm never going to know. Mm-hmm. I'm never going to know. And I'm never going to, like, make a decision about something like this on my own. Mm-hmm. So previously I would have gone, right, well, I'm just going to do this.
And it feels personal, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm. But you'll never find the motivation as to why people will do things. And now I'm proud to say that every decision that I've made with the business, it has been a collective decision navigating what the right thing to do is.
Yeah.
And I think that I've really learned that along the way. Like, whenever you're dealt with something difficult, never take the full responsibility of making a decision on that.
Yeah.
Like, and it goes back to networking, find that advisory group, find that non-exec director board, find that senior leadership team, find the associates, safe people, even if it's just a WhatsApp group, And just to say, look, I'm dealing with this. Is this the right thing to do?
Yeah.
And just see what other people's perspectives are. Because then when something does happen, and you will always have to make really horrible, tough decisions. But I know now, like, look back on those, and I think, well, I've got no regrets, because at the time, I got support, and I got the right people along to say, yeah, no, that's what you need to do.
And that's really interesting as well, because again, that's something that we talk about all the time, is being, you're not alone, and we're better together, and having that, whether it's out networking, whether it's the WhatsApp group, whether it's your team of people, whether it's just you, but you have to put yourself, stop trying to achieve things yourself, because it's never going to work.
Yeah.
Surround yourself with the people, with the right people, and just don't be in it alone.
Yeah. Because as well, like, I think some people in the past have found it very difficult to separate me from the business. So they've been like, well, Charlotte's doing this and Charlotte's doing that. And I was like, Charlotte would like to be on a beach, right? Charlotte doesn't care, like, in the nicest way.
Yeah.
This is the business talking, and then it would then get quite personal, because then it would be like a character attack or something like that, and I'd be like, that's fine, come at me with that, that's fine if that's how you want to react, but I'm safe in the fact that I know that this is a business decision doing this, and it's not Charlotte.
Yeah.
You know. And I had to do a whole blooming MBA to figure out who Charlotte was and separate Charlotte from the business, because it's all I'd known for 10 years. And still, you know, it is, when you are running a business, it is an extension of your personality, and it is difficult, but there has to be a point where you have to sort of go, no, that's where is Charlotte and where does she start?
You are separate entities, exactly, yeah. And then obviously, because the decisions, which everything feels personal. If you have a complaint, if you have anyone has an issue, it always feels like it's a personal attack on you. And removing yourself from that business, which is here, and you're here, it's no longer personal.
Yeah.
And that's life changing, isn't it? When you get to that point.
Yeah. It is. And then you can improve, and you can improve business processes. You can improve how your culture, your company culture, you can learn things from it. Like, every experience that I've had in those really horrible moments, and we were talking about this before, there's always been something that's come out of it that has made us even better as a business and an organisation, and as an individual as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Charlotte, I've got a really hard question for you now.
Oh God.
I'm just kidding. Where can people, first of all, just a quick overview of your business as well, like what it is that you do, and where people can connect with you. Where's the best place for people to connect to you?
Yeah, sure. So essentially, we're a learning and development agency, and we make business accessible to everyone. So we deliver free business skill courses and events and opportunities. So if you're curious about starting a business, right through to running a startup 3 or 4 years down the line, come and get in touch with us. Everything's free. Like I said, you know, we work closely with private and local government to make sure that business is accessible to everyone. So you can just find us at youarefirst.co.uk and sign up to a course or an experience, and then we'll just get you connected into the business ecosystem so that you can grow and develop your ideas and opportunities. Because starting a business or getting skilled employment should be an opportunity for everyone in the Northeast, not just those in the know.
Yeah. Can anybody sign up? What's the criteria?
So, anyone can sign up for Startup Awards if they've got a business less than 4 years old, and they live in the Northeast.
That's really interesting to know then, isn't it?
Yeah, if you want to do a course and it's free, then you have to be earning under 25 grand and be a resident of the Northeast.
Right.
And that's important, right? Because it's public money, so we
Yeah.
need to make sure that it's free to those that need it.
Absolutely.
And if you're earning over 25 grand, then you can talk to us as well, because you can pay for it.
Yeah. Brilliant. Charlotte, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank
and
you,
being
Anna.
real and raw and honest, which is, that's how I like it. Thank you, really appreciate it.
Thank you, Anna. It's been so good. I could chat to you all day, so I appreciate the opportunity.
Oh, thank you. Mwah, mwah, Charlotte, everybody.